Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, the show that gives you a virtual seat at the bar for the real conversations that happen between entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing all kinds of business owners, from those just a few years into freelancing to CEOs helming 9-figure companies. If you've ever worried that everyone else just seems to get it and you're missing something or messing things up, this show is for you. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my new friend, Audrey Faust. Say hi.
Hi, Angie. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you too. And of course, it makes my day when people give thought to the background, which now that we're actually sharing the video of these, people will get to see what I'm seeing and enjoying. But there's a big quote in your background that says, "Dream until your dreams come true." Oh, yes. Yes. I'm excited about that. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah. So I'm a financial coach and I work with primarily women entrepreneurs, although I've been kind of expanding beyond that a little bit. And I help them really understand their numbers and grow their wealth. So women sometimes like to shy away from understanding their numbers, or they don't want to think about them. But, I always like to say what you like focus on grows, right? So if you want to grow your money, your income, your wealth, start focusing on it and see what happens, right? So, and I'm also not judgmental because I come across a lot of financial coaches, financial advisors, and all of those people in the finance industry. And a lot of times they may come across a little direct, or which sometimes can be construed as like mean or judgmental. So, I know women are just all trying to do the best they can. And, I'm just here to help, and I'm here to educate them. And I'm really just to hold their hands and give them the knowledge they need so they can take the next steps.
I love that. We're starting off on a very strong footing here because I already have a couple of different notes. One thing that I wrote down and circled a couple times, and it was something you said that I think is really brilliant, which is what you focus on grows. And I have a version of that I say to my clients too, which is I say, what you focus on, you find, right? And I use that in the context of if you are thinking about negatives and you're thinking about, well, if I put this out there, the haters are going to find it. The clients are going to hate me. I'm going to make a mistake. You're actually leading yourself into a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're focused on all of the things that could go wrong and ignoring all the things that could go right. Whereas by the same token, if you focus on the things that could go right and everything that you have going for you and how resourceful you are and how you've figured things out in the past, you're going to find that repeating itself a lot more than the mistakes. So I just found that interesting. Absolutely. We share that similar philosophy.
Yes.
Focus on it.
Focus on it. That's so true. And you bring up a great point where, you actually draw that to you, and you do and because what you think about and what you focus on, you attract.
Yes.
So, and a lot of people don't always know that. And, like we said, I'm not all about the woo-woo. I have a lot of strategies, but I do believe in what we focus on grows, what, as you said, what we focus on, we attract.
Oh, same. So, I call myself woo adjacent. I acknowledge that there are mysterious things in the universe that I don't understand and are beyond my comprehension. And I'm also stopping just short of having an altar and making some moon water, although no shade to my girlies that do that, because I know plenty of witches. Send all of the good juju my way, please. It's just, I'm somewhere in between science and woo. Haven't figured out quite where yet. All good. There was another thing that you said too, which I think hinted on kind of prescriptive coaching. And some of that was stylistic, right? You talked about people that are kind of stern or direct or, blunt.
Yeah.
And that might kind of sting, but that also brought me to folks that kind of tell you what to do, or that tone might be coming across that way because they're prescriptive and they're really telling you something that doesn't resonate with you. And I wrote down, you can't shame people into success. I don't know. That was a thought that popped into my head, but Do you
I love
agree?
that. I totally agree. Like there, there's no shame and no judgment. And, here's a little fun fact for you. Women were not allowed to have a credit card until 1974.
Mm-hmm.
So like my generation, like we didn't grow up with mothers knowing like anything about money. So
Yeah.
how are we supposed to know about money, right? How are we, unless we take this step to educate ourselves, and then we can pay it forward to our future generations. So
Oh yeah.
it's, don't be upset if you don't understand numbers. Like, that's where kind of I come from, without like shame or judgment, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's just, it's okay.
There's such a wonderful synergy that usually happens around these podcast conversations, because I notice these themes, and I've mentioned this before on the show, but like the theme this week seems to be giving yourself grace for the gaps. And that came up a couple ways, because believe it or not, this is not the first time that I talked about generational wealth and women. I believe I was talking with somebody just a couple days ago about the fact that like this is my mom's lifetime, where you had to get permission from your husband or your father to have a bank account. You couldn't have a credit card. You couldn't have a mortgage or own property. Like this is not that long ago. And so there's a reason that you would have gaps. And it repeated when I was working with a business coach. Hi, Sally, if you're listening. I'm just going to do shout outs today. Shout outs to everybody. Where we were talking about there's a lot of reasons that you might have a gap when it comes to business. So don't let shame and fear that you're going to look like a fool for getting as far as you've gotten and still having some gaps. Like we all need foundations. And if you need permission to give yourself some grace, right? Some people fall into business on accident. They created a product for themselves that just takes off. Yeah, some people inherit a business and maybe their parents weren't great teachers of the business skills, or just assumed these things were knowable when there wasn't perspective on your end. Sometimes you work your way up through a corporate ladder and there are still gaps. Like there's a lot of different ways that people come to business where you would still have big pieces missing. And I would just say again, on what you focus on, you find. Look at everything I've accomplished despite missing this one key piece. Now that I've got this one key piece, imagine how much greater it's going to be. Woo!
Yeah. And, most people get into business because they have a passion for something, and it's usually not their numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's usually their gift, right? Where like my gift is around numbers. Their gift probably isn't. That's probably something that, they could use some education and strength on. So then they find themselves in this place where they're like, well, I don't want to feel like an idiot because I don't know I don't know how to read a profit and loss statement. I don't know how to read a balance sheet. Guess what? Nobody taught you. It's okay.
Yeah. And I would say most people who don't work in the numbers every day don't understand how to read those things. I just did my book look, as my accountant called it, a couple of days ago. And she's showing me all these things. And there was a negative number in a column and I didn't like that number. And she goes, I know that this looks weird and it looks bad on the surface, but you actually have reduced your expenditures to such an extreme that this is a really good number. And it was like, oh, okay. I like this. When somebody can just take away the shame and the weirdness around, but it's a negative number. Negative numbers are bad. Not necessarily if you have the context.
No. Not necessarily.
Well, tell me more about how you came into this. I know that you mentioned that you were kind of naturally good with numbers, and I know that you had built your wealth and people were asking you about your journey, but like what led you to this business iteration, this evolution and journey?
Well, I've been in numbers and accounting and finance for over 25 years. And I've built my own wealth through mutual fund investing and real estate purchases and taking a little bit of risk in both of those. And it was actually a while ago, a friend of mine and I were on a vacation together, and she's like, why aren't you helping people with this kind of stuff? Like building their wealth, helping women build their wealth. Because like we've been friends for over 30 years. And she's kind of watched me go from nothing to now having, you know, a multi 7-figure net worth. And she's like, why aren't you helping other, like, this is unusual, Audrey. Like, why aren't you helping other people do this? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I guess I never thought of it. And that's kind of what really got me into financial coaching and that side of the business. So, and I love it. I find it just totally uplifting coaching these women and like taking it. Actually, I was talking to someone who just finished my FES group, Financial Empowerment Sisterhood group, and I was getting some feedback from her. And what she said to me, she goes, is you make it possible for everybody. You put it in these small little bite-sized pieces that makes it possible for everybody to start. And she's like, before I came into your group, she said, like, I always thought if I wanted to start investing, I had to have like thousands and thousands of dollars. But when you showed me, I can start with $50. This light bulb went off and just took all of the stress away from me. And I was like, yeah, you can. And then you just build from there.
Build from there. Start where you are and grow from there. Don't pretend like you have to have some gigantic platform, some giant nest egg to invest before you can take big steps. Big journeys start with small steps.
Absolutely. And that, you know, that's just such an important thing to let people know. Like, you know, they don't start because they think they have to have so much, and you don't. You just really have to take, and that's how I started. I started investing $50 a month. You know, that's exactly where I started. And then I'm like, wow, this is kind of like growing.
Yeah.
And I went from there. So I treated my investing and my savings like a bill, like an electric bill. I had a client tell me a self-love bill. So I tend to use that now too. Like, it's a self-love bill.
Ooh, I love that. I love that on more than one level because I can't even remember the book. It might have been How to Win Friends and Influence People or some such relationship book like that. But it really talks about how you build strong relationships in context of a bank, that you've got to make deposits if you ever hope to make a withdrawal. Otherwise, you're drawing on an account that's already in the negative and that relationship is going sour. So it's the same thing. You want to make
good analogy.
investments in yourself. The self-love funds. Oh my gosh. Yes. The self-love bill. Pay that bill. Pay that bill. And, you know, there was another nice synchronicity that you mentioned, too, with being on vacation and this friend of yours mentioning, why aren't you helping people with this? Is the last person that I spoke to when I was recording also had a similar journey into business where it was, I'm just kind of going along doing my thing. And somebody comes up to me and says, I could use help with this. Could you help me? And I go, no, that's not really my thing. I don't do that. I do this thing over here. But as she sat with it and thought about it, that wound up being her business path. And now she is loving it. She's got 25 employees and it's fantastic. But
that's
I think
awesome.
So many of us discount that idea. And I wonder where it comes from. It might be kind of that focus thing that we mentioned at the beginning. But there are people right in front of you all the time that see what you're doing and see your awesomeness and come to you for help. And are you putting stock in that, or are you dismissing it outright? Could that actually be something that people would pay you for? Might be.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
Yeah, I think we need people around us that show us blind spots all the time. And I'm just encouraging everybody listening that if you're having conversations where somebody who has nothing to gain by paying you a compliment asks you something with something that they feel to be in your field of expertise, just answer them and then reflect on that later and be like, could there be something here? Because if you've been looking for your business idea, it might be right in front of your face. Just saying.
Yeah.
Always have those blind spots.
I actually had like another colleague say something similar to me later, like almost like a month or so later. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like the universe is like beating me over the head. This is the direction you need to go. Hello, wake up, Audrey. And, I'm so glad I did, because it has really turned into a mission for me and a passion. And I just love it. Like I'm writing a book about it now too, as well. So,
as somebody who is just finally, after 5 years of working on it, getting her book out this year, welcome to the club, man. That is some of the hardest work I
Yay!
have ever
Congrats!
done, but it's so worth it. And I've already got like 3 more books planned.
Yes, I have another book planned too, but I'm giving myself time next year. That's next year. I want to give myself a little time.
Yeah, got to get it out there. Got to get the promotion going.
Yeah.
No, all I was saying was that it was a very similar. We talk about kind of entrepreneurial roller coaster where you got your up days and down days, and it feels like a crazy journey some days, and it feels exhilarating other days. That's exactly what editing the book work felt like to me as well. There were days when I would read what I wrote and went, ha, I'm so funny. I'm a genius. People are going to love this. And times when I sat down to edit where I was like, this is the worst piece of, what was I thinking when I wrote this? This is everybody's gonna hate this. And it was such an up and down journey until this final round of edits, where I think the last few things that were super bothering me, my beta readers and my editors helped me find it and fix it. And I was finally like, yes, this is a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
That's
good
awesome.
enough. We're putting it out.
Yes.
All right. Random side detour about books, which I think you should write. I now totally understand why marketing people tell you that books are a huge authority thing, because it's a huge undertaking to do it well.
It is, but I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I expected to, because I'm from that finance world, and I thought, I can't write. What if I could, and then I'm working in a group. I joined a group program called Thought Leader Academy. Sarah Canal runs it. And she's amazing. And the group is amazing. And it's all about like writing your books.
Yeah.
So, and it's great to be in a community of people that are there with you and they're in the trenches, right? And then it also includes like editing, like you get an editor that works with you on your book. So
that's cool. Awesome. Well, and you mentioned something just kind of off the cuff there that I wanted to highlight, that I'm a numbers person and I'm not good at writing. And I know so many other people that think the opposite. I'm great at the creative stuff and I suck at the numbers. And just remember that you don't have to be good at everything. Just like we said. Oh, you said Sarah Canal. I was like, where am I getting that name? You can partner with people that have different intelligence than you. And one of my friends brought that to my attention, and I've been fascinated with it ever since, that we're all born with different levels of intelligence in different fields. Some people have a kinesthetic intelligence, or they have a spatial intelligence, for all of you people who are good at Tetris. Some people have musical intelligence, or numerical mathematical intelligence, or linguistic, or intrapersonal. So that there's a lot of skills and intelligence types out there that just because you're not good at one that you think you need to be good at doesn't mean that you're not good at things. And there are other people that can help you amplify that. We're getting just ranty today.
I know, right? And, or they have a system, like she has a system that makes it so easy. So like, that's what I love. Like, I'm a systems person. That's how my brain's wired. So if you tell me how to like do it, I'm like, I'm all in then. It just makes it easy.
I'm all about chunking it down. And the last person that I recorded with, we talked about that too, where if you're making up a giant shortfall in your business and you focus on the hole that you've got to fill, then this is overwhelming. This is a problem that does not feel fixable. Oh my God, panic. But if we chunk it down to, okay, to get that goal, I need to close this many contracts, which means I need to talk to this many people, which means I need to reach out to this many people, which I could break down into X number of people per week. Suddenly, this doesn't feel like an impossible goal anymore, because we've created, like you said, a system for reverse engineering our way all the way to that goal. And it's not just, oh my God, how am I going to come up with 6 figures? I don't know. You can do it.
How am I going to come up with a book? Well, here's a system.
And that is the great question to ask. How am I going to do it? Not like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? To me, that's a blocker question. But how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this happen? Unlocks a world of possibilities. All right. So abrupt segue. I'm going to go all the way back. So I know that you were on vacation and you were talking to your friend, and what was the transition like? Did you go all in right away on becoming a coach and pivot hard? Was it kind of something that you did incrementally over time? What was that change like?
Well, at first, I had to get comfortable with sharing that I've built my own wealth, right? that was probably the first hurdle. Now I share that, I have a multi 7-figure net worth, like it's nothing,
Mhm.
but
Was it the
that
number
took me
that?
a while just to like get that
Yeah.
out of my mouth. Like, am I going to get judgment about that? Right. And so that
What kind of judgment were you afraid of getting?
I don't know, just, the haters, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, and I know that I'm kind of like throwing these questions at you, and I appreciate you answering it and rolling with me on this, but that is fascinating to me that like you've achieved something that so many people want to achieve. And even then, there's still a trepidation, a hesitation, even a little bit of shame about talking about our accomplishments. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
women feel that way too. So you had to get
Absolutely.
over the hesitance in saying that number. And then what happened?
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I had another woman, as I mentioned, come to me, and she was in my business coaching program with me. And she just kind of, I purchased a promotion from a summit that she was doing. And she's like, this is how I'm going to introduce you. And I was like, really? It's like the way she saw me and the way she talked about me, it was like, holy crap. Like, that was probably the next like beat over the head, right? Like that was just like, that's how people see me. Like, okay, like,
Yes.
maybe I should move in this direction. They see, I mean, I don't remember her exact words, but, it was like this financial powerhouse or something. And I was like, whoa.
Hell yeah. Flip that and put it in the confidence file. And I wrote that down too, having people in your corner, because we get to curate who gets to come with us on the business journey. And that's something I don't think we talk about enough either. Yes, your family is involved in your business. I've heard it joked about when you're married to an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur too. To an extent, yes, probably not entirely, but yes, you feel the ups and downs and the stress and whatnot too. But you don't have to have negative people in your corner, even if they're family or friends. People who can't reflect back to your awesomeness the way that your friend did, they don't get invited to hear about the daily ins and outs of my business. That's just a rule I made for myself because I've already got enough doubt for like 10 Angies. I don't need somebody else adding their negative. And I know they're coming at it from a place of concern and a place of worry and a place of love. And also, I don't need that energy and I don't want them worrying about me. So we're just going to head that off at the pass. What your friend did for you, I call the loving mirror, which is too often the mirror that I'm looking at when I'm looking at myself is warped and distorted by all the societal narratives and all of the trauma and head trash that I've been carrying around as an adult. And so when I join a program, I hire a coach or I reach out to a friend or colleague, I'm looking for a loving mirror. I'm looking for one that is unwarped, undistorted, reflects awesomeness back at me. Right? I want to see the truth of what I look like to the rest of the world, not what I look like in my own mirror, because I know what that looks like, right? That looks like not good enough. But I love that you had that for you and that was what sparked this in you. Look for more of that, guys. Everybody listening, there are people in your world who want to tell you how awesome you are. Are you open to receiving that or are you shutting it down? Food for thought.
And a lot of now my best friend has been with me forever, but a lot of the other people I found that are my true cheerleaders, I call them, are from joining coaching programs.
Yeah.
So like, if you don't have anybody in your life, like you join these coaching programs, and I've kept a few along the way, right? That are just right here in my pocket all the time. And like you join the right coaching program in these groups, and it's these women, even in the writing coaching program, we're all like in each other's corner and cheering each other on. And like, that's the great thing about a group, right? Like a group coaching program is just making new friends and having the right friends that are going to be there. And they're really good. You're going to be able to connect with a few and just be like, you know what? I love having these women in my corner. And I've been doing group coaching programs myself for years.
Oh, yes.
So,
Oh, yes.
and, you know, like I said, like, the higher the investment, the higher level of women are actually in that program, and you get even a better group. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting, you know, to see
Yeah.
to see like, well, this might be a big investment in this group, but imagine that other women that are putting that big investment out, they're also going to be like the same kind of person. So
yeah, they're
I don't even
achieving
know
the
where all
kinds.
that came from, but
I'm here for it. Those make the best conversations, like the random inspiration and the moments and the tangents. I am here for it. But I circled as you were talking the facts that I had written down from your earlier discussion, taking risks. Taking risk to invest in yourself, to join a new group, to not know how all of this stuff is going to pay off. And also, if we're looking at this from my admittedly non-financial background, right? If we're evaluating this risk, there are other people here who have the same kind of skin in the game as me. So maybe this isn't as risky as it seems.
It's a great way to put that.
Yeah, and they're achieving things that I want to achieve, and they're connected to people who I'd like to know and learn from. So this, while it's a huge sum of money maybe for right now, and it feels super risky, and I feel like I got to get it back, I got to earn it back, I got to get that ROI. Sometimes the ROI doesn't come for years on things like that.
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't come, especially if it's the wrong fit group. But I don't think any of that time or money spent on trying to better yourself is ever wasted, even if you don't get a direct return. Do you feel something similar?
Absolutely. My highest line item on my P&L is my professional development.
Ooh.
Always.
I think mine is too.
But, you know, I'm all about learning and growing and bettering myself. And especially as a coach, like I feel like if you're coaching other people, you need to make sure you're continually improving yourself.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I mean, I started coaching because I had kind of a natural inclination for spotting patterns and gaps and helping people see them, right? My friend Chris says, when you're in the bottle, you can't see the label. And I'm a big fan of that. You just have natural blind spots by nature of being who you are and focusing on what you naturally focus on. And it's how your brain is designed. Your brain is literally filtering out millions of data points worth of information every single day. So there's only so much you can see just by how we're wired and built. So you've got to surround yourself with people who can show you what you can't see about yourself. So that said, when I first started coaching, it was a very frustrating experience for me, and I'm sure for my early students, because I came at it from here's the problem, here's the solution, go do the thing. Not much compassion or support, not much listening for any roadblocks or things that might prevent Angie's solution for working for another person. You know, because for instance, I am a single person who is responsible for only 2 cats and herself. And so if I'm coaching a single mom or dad, or I'm coaching somebody with a different life situation and I haven't taken that into account, then problems and frustration and people feeling like I'm not a great coach. That has happened to me before. And so exactly like you said, I started realizing, okay, I'm really good in certain situations and not in others. What am I missing? Oh, I'm missing this empathetic connection. I'm presuming that I know what somebody's life situation is, how they can fix their problems. Oh, okay. I keep getting better and better at becoming a coach and attracting more and more people to the sphere of influence just by investing in myself. And I love how all of this works. Like, improve yourself and your services, and it just grows. It just grows.
Absolutely. What you focus on grows.
Yep. Oh gosh, we're just gonna keep coming back to the point. That's gonna be
back to it.
So I know, like, we're taking the shiny meandering path on this one. So now you've had a couple of different people talk to you about this awesomeness, and you are in this group. And this lady also recommends that you take this path toward helping people grow their wealth. And now you have got a certain level of comfort with owning the fact that you have built this really, really awesome wealth for yourself. How did you break in and make this your full-time thing?
Well, I also have part of my business. I also work and actually done for you accounting. outside of my
Okay.
business. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like that far off, right?
Yeah.
So I just, I got a neuro coaching certification, which helped a lot because as you said, there's all these blockers. I call them prosperity blockers when it comes to money. Like there's these blockers that you got to get out of the way, or they're not going to be able to achieve what you can see for them, right?
Yes.
So I have a whole like system in my program that we get rid of the blockers. And I learned that system through the neuro coaching. So you mentioned we have so many thoughts. Did you know we have 80,000 thoughts going on in our head every day?
I didn't know the number, but I am not at all surprised.
And out of those 80,000 thoughts, 95% of them are coming from our subconscious. And our subconscious was formed when we were children. So up to the age of 7. So pretty much we have a 7-year-old running our brain every day. That's what I like to say. So
gives things a different perspective when you're dealing with angry clients, right? And frustrated people. Just an angry 7-year-old. It's okay. Do you need a snack? Probably need a snack.
Yeah. So, like all that stuff we've taken in from our parents and people of influence when we were younger, whoever was around you. And most of what's in our subconscious, we don't even know it's in there. So that's the worst thing, right? And it's running the show. So like, unless you get rid of those blockers or those beliefs, like you're going to continually sabotage yourself over and over and over again. So, so that's kind of what I work with clients on. We one of the first things we do is we get rid of those prosperity blockers.
I love that.
So that have been and most people don't even know they have them. I have this masterclass I'm teaching, and we find out in that free masterclass what your blockers are. Like, and I can't tell you how many people I've held that masterclass for, and they're shocked. There's like, I've worked on my mindset so much. I'm good. And I don't think I've ever had somebody, there's 5 questions, not get 2 prosperity blockers out of those 5 questions. So at least 2. So, and it's and a lot of people have 4 or 5. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That stuff goes super deep, and kids pick up on so much more than we give them credit for. And so little baby Angie and little baby Audrey picked up on a whole lot of stuff, and everybody listening too, that we don't even recognize the ideas that we formed around who we are, what we're capable of, what we can earn, what our value is, all of that jazz. I was just laughing about the stories that we get in our heads, because I know sometimes I have a brain that narrates thoughts out loud, and I know that not everybody does. So it just sounds kind of like constant stream of chatter in the background. Every once in a while I go for drives to clear my thoughts, and that's where I get a lot of my best ideas. And it was funny to me that one of my friends called me on a drive not too long ago, and I told him I was just going for a drive so I could think, and he goes, "What were you thinking about?" And I was like, to be honest, my brain was making a sound kind of like like there were no thoughts. It was just gibberish, and it was so freeing. And that was what was running in the background as I was trying to make some business moves and do some planning. And no wonder it gets overwhelming in there. Get that stuff out of your head. Another ranty points, but
no, that's funny. And I just want to bring up one more thing that about like what we're taught. So it just made me think of, I have these 3 calculators. They're called the Wealth Building Bundle. And one of the calculators is a calculator that will disprove something that we're all taught. And it is the fact that a lot of people tell you to pay an extra $100 on your mortgage, right? Have you heard that?
Yes.
So one of the calculators I have, you put in if you paid $100 extra on your mortgage, so here's an example I've memorized. Let's say you have a $250,000 mortgage and you pay an extra $100 on that for a 30-year mortgage for the 30 years. You will save about $38,000 in interest and like 4.5 or so years on your mortgage. That sounds good, right?
Not bad.
If you take that same $100 and invest it in a mutual fund at like the average mutual fund rate, which is around 10%, for that 30 years, guess how much money you would have? Just $100 a month for 30 years.
Oh, I don't even know how to calculate that.
You would have over $215,000.
That sounds like a lot more than 38, just off the top of my head.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, that's something that people would say, oh, just pay an extra $100 on your mortgage, and programs in everybody's brain. And it's like, well, if you actually thought differently, and stuck that $100 in a mutual fund every month instead of on your mortgage. And the interest rate on the mortgage is at 5%. That was the percent I used doing that, on calculating that. So you would have, and that's the power of compounding too, right?
Yes.
Like, you're not putting that much money in there, and you're growing it to $215,000, almost as much as your mortgage. Right?
The math has got a math.
Crazy. So, so anyway, like, that's just something we've all been told that's totally wrong.
Yes.
It's like, there's a better way. So that's like one thing I teach people. In the last group I had of a financially empowered sisterhood group, I had a girl that was paying an extra $200 on her mortgage. And when I shared that with her, and she saw it, me like do the calculator, and she saw it visually, she was like, do you believe I have no savings and I've been doing this, paying this extra $200 in my mortgage for I don't know how long?
Yeah.
And immediately she flipped it over and started investing it. So, but unless somebody like explains it and tells you like why it's not the thing to do, like you don't know, right? So you don't know what you don't know. We're going back to that one.
Yeah. And especially if it's not your natural intelligence, like you are not inclined to get to the root of why, right? I definitely have that personality type. If it's something that I struggle with or I'm not super interested in, once I get to a good enough solution, bam, that's where I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to set it on cruise control and stay at that. And I know intellectually that things grow and change and evolve and do better. And that one strategy that I landed on 10 years ago probably isn't the thing that I should do anymore. But because I'm not interested in it and it's not my natural intelligence, I'm not willing to change that unless I come across somebody like you who goes, there's a better way to do it and it's not as hard as you think. And I go, please, as long as it's not hard, tell me all the things. I am open.
Yeah.
And that brought up something interesting too. We talked at the beginning a little bit about opening yourself up to people who bring your awesomeness to you and say, hey, there might be a business opportunity there, right? One last thing that I think we could close on this one is keeping yourself open to learning and getting better and finding new ways, and not just getting stuck in a fixed mindset of, nope, this is the way the world is. That's it. I'm done. There's no better way. There's always a better way. There's always somebody that can help you. There's always, and what a time to be alive right now with all of the wonderful, super intuitive technology that we've got access to, with money literally flying in ones and zeros over our heads right now. You can create as much of it as you want. You can create that wealth that you've been dreaming of, the business that you've been dreaming of. And all it takes is changing your mindset, putting in some good old fashioned tenacity, laughing at yourself when you fail, because you will, and getting some good people in your corner.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I love it. I want to rant. I want to keep ranting, and I know that we're getting close to time. So tell me more about the business, where we can find you, where people can find out about the sisterhood. Lay it on me.
My website is audreyfaustconsulting.com, and you can find, if the group's open, there'll be a page there. If the group's on wait list, there'll be a wait list, and then you'll get I reopen it. I only open it every couple months. I also do one-on-one coaching if that's something you want and not a group program. I'm on Instagram at greatwithmoney.
Yes, I love it. Great with money. Yes.
Great with money is my Instagram handle. Yes. And then I am Faust Coaching on Facebook, and I am on LinkedIn as well, Audrey Faust. So
awesome.
You can find me.
I'm going to make sure that there are clickable links to all of those things that you mentioned in the show notes so that people can easily find you. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot more people coming to terms with I went and got myself rich and now I have feelings about it once they start working with you. Good problems.
Sounds great. And yes, please. And I believe I shared the link with you about the free calculators. So you download them. There's a net worth calculator, creating your net worth or calculating your net worth. They're so easy to use too. There's a investment inspiration calculator that just you set a goal and it'll tell you how long and how much you can save a month, and it'll tell you how long to get there. I mean, that's a basic one. And then the one I love the best is the one that compares, and you don't have to compare it to a mortgage. You can compare it to a student loan. You can compare it to any loan. And just it fits. And I always say, in closing, 7%, I have a 7% rule. So if your interest rate is over 7%, pay it off. If it's under 7%, then you can probably invest and make it better off in a mutual funds.
Ooh,
what the calculator will do for you.
I like that.
Thanks.
Handy little tips, learning some numbers here on Permission to Kick Ass. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Audrey. I am speaking for everybody here, but I freaking loved it.
I did too. Thanks, Angie. We just had a lot of great synergy here.
That's all for now. If you want to keep that kick-ass energy high, please take a minute to share this episode with someone that might need a high-octane dose of "you can do it." Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Permission to Kick Ass podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and I'm here rooting for you. Thanks for listening, and let's go kick some ass.